is the Elevated Look Show, hosted by Mark Stampfly.
Well, Megan Gallager, thank you so much for coming. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk with you. I'm excited. I know we had spoke a little bit briefly yesterday.
Yes.
And how you have done over 750 events. Like, that's really impressive. Really impressive. So I'm really curious.
Yeah.
And you're only 25, right?
25, yeah.
25 years old, and you've already spoke at over 750 events.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. First, I'm so excited to be here today. Being back in Santa Monica, it's crazy. I used to live here, fun fact, and now coming from Miami, it's it's very surreal to be back here, and it's fun to, like we said, catch up with old friends and to be around. But yes, so I'm 25 now. I feel like I've lived 4,000 lives. Just starting my business at 18.
And when you say your business, this is the public speaking?
Exactly. So public speaking, writing books, blogging. I've been doing, I just say entrepreneur because I think it's easier for people to understand. But yeah, I've been doing that for almost 7.5 years.
Okay.
I was 18. I actually went to Santa Monica City College for about a year and a half, and what was your when you went into Santa Monica City College, what was your plan and purpose when you started that? Was it just because that's the thing to do, or yes.
did you have something like, I'm going to get my AA in this and then transfer to there?
Yeah, great.
What was your plan?
Great question. So a little backstory. In high school, my grades were not that good. I just did not thrive in that work environment, and so for me, community college was really a space where I thought I could prove it to myself, to get the good grades, to finally just transfer to my dream college. And I was thinking, USC, I want to go and, study psychology and become a therapist because I love mental health and I love the human body and the mind. And, about halfway through, I had my health scare, and that's something that, is important to me, and it's a big part of my life. And it really, looking back, in the moment it was so challenging and it was a very dark time in my life, but now looking back that I'm over it, I'm like, that literally, was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it just opened my eyes to just things happening for a reason. And it may sound cheesy, and sometimes people are like, your toxic positivity, or this is just so...
What does that mean, even, toxic positivity?
Oh, I've had people rip me online saying, you're fake, this is an internet persona, that toxic...
Okay.
So I interpret it as toxic positivity is, you're just too optimistic all the time. You don't have a healthy balance of, feeling negative feelings. And I'm like, well, number one, you're just watching my TED Talk and then messaging me on Instagram, calling me that. So...
Yeah.
That was 2.5 years ago. You don't know me in real life. And, it's like if you were to be with me 24 hours a day, I'm a human. You know what I mean? I cry, I get anxious.
You're not going to be super positive 100% of the time.
I am always, that's me by nature, but it's life is hard at times.
And is there anything wrong with portraying, obviously you have your personal life too, but is there anything wrong with portraying your internet persona as fully positive? What's wrong with that?
I know, that's the thing is I, am friends with other influencers, entrepreneurs, artists, designers, and they all, a part of their brand is having a internet persona, and that's how you kind of brand yourself. And I've met a lot of them in person, and we've DM'd each other and then had dinner, and that's how we met. But it's I've met a lot of them, and that's how they are in real life. It's not a fake persona. But of course, I have met influencers, and that term sounds condescending sometimes. But
influencer?
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Condescending these days.
Influencer. I have met some in real life where they are far from. That's just a.
Oh, really?
It's this persona where...
It is a completely, superficial
It's a completely maximized, freaking just, let's go jump off the bridge and, go...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or even, I feel like Instagram models, kind of similar. They're portraying this image, I'm on a boat, I'm doing this. But then really, their life isn't quite like that. It's they're just showing very specific little moments in time.
100%. And that's something that I've learned just as a 25-year-old and being in this industry for as long as I have is you realize that these influencers, the people with millions of followers and their life looks, you have to realize that that's number one, their profile, it's just a brand. It's to grow, like they're just selling products in places and they're partnering up with other brands. So that's not their real life. And you also have to realize that they're just trying to monetize and to sell products. So that's what meeting them in real life, and you learn kind of behind the curtains of like what really goes on. You just realize you're like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I used to compare myself a lot to those girls, but then I met them in real life and I'm like, they're literally just people and they just have a brand and a business, and some of them went viral and you can't compare. So
do you respect it though?
What do you mean?
Do you respect like what they're doing? Like,
oh, 100%. I respect it because I think being a female entrepreneur myself, I know how hard these girls work.
Sure.
And each of their stories is, different and unique. But I don't know. I think I hang out with kind of the more like-minded people. I respect everyone's work, and I know that there's influencers that are everyone has their own lane, and I think I'm happiest when I'm just staying in my lane and focused on doing my best. And just, I know my passions, like, and I just stick to that. I know what I'm good at and I stick to that.
And, I mean, I feel like too, like for me, I feel like a lot of the people who do really well are the ones who are more authentic, and it's less of a show, it's less of a thing. Not that there's some of those people that are successful, but I think for the most part, the ones that are very authentic, those are the ones that do like actually really make it, because they have been kind of true, to themselves. And maybe they're doing their thing, they're showing like that one thing that they're really people like,
right? But
at least it's authentic. It's not like trying to put on a show, but there's a lot of show there too.
Yes, exactly. And that's something that I pride myself on, is not only do I love fitness and health and everything, so it kind of fits my energy more, but I genuinely, as someone who used to struggle with body image issues and like a lot of things, I constantly have in the back of my mind when I'm posting content, who's my audience, and I don't want to be triggering. Okay. And I want to, think about the young girls that are following me and how I would feel if I were that young girl following someone. And, to, no offense, but like to be someone where it's like so plastic surgery and crazy, it's like, just, I don't know. It's like, you do you, not judging, but it's like, you're not really helping society. Like, it's so, I don't know, it's detrimental.
For your social media, like, so, you have an Instagram, you have a TikTok, you have a YouTube. Like, what is your brand? Like, how would you describe your brand, in that space? So I would describe my brand as number one, I'm an entrepreneur, but if I were to break it down, I would say I am a fitness advocate. I'm a commercial model. So by commercial, I mean, in JCPenney and Gap, like clothing, Target, jumping like around. Print photography. Exactly. And I would say public speaker. I also am a mental health advocate. I'm an author. So I'm many things. Yeah. But to make it simple, I just say, what do you say?
I say entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
But it's like, I enjoy all of...
You do enjoy it, yeah.
I enjoy it all. And I think as I get older, my career, I can tell it's just shifting in this natural direction where, like we talked about, I've had, this past year, a huge lifestyle fitness kind of change in my life, which I'm so confident and I love talking about. And so for me, when I was 18, what I loved then, like coaching teenage girls one-on-one, now
coaching with fitness or coaching how?
So I was actually a self-love mentor at
really?
18. That's what I called myself.
Oh, wow.
I literally made business cards online and I, would just walk around to high schools.
And so tell me, like, just back up a little bit. How did you become the self-love coach? Like, how did you get into that?
It's funny because I just knew, I was like, this is what I want to do. Okay. And I do not have a degree from college. I don't have anything. I was just like, this is what I'm passionate about. And so I just went online, made business cards, and I would walk around to schools the next day. Very cool. I'm so confident in myself. I didn't think twice about it. Like I in my mind, I don't know what type of like brain thing this is, but in my mind, I'm the type of person where, it's like I get this idea, like I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. And then I just do it.
You just start doing it.
Yes. I find a way to make it happen. And sometimes I don't think about the little details.
Okay. So you just get a spark, like you're 18 years old and that idea comes to your head and then after you get that idea, then you're like, I gotta go make business cards? Is it, or like, and then go to schools, or is that really what happened? And then
yes, I mean, at 18, there were some life events that kind of shifted my mindset, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in community college anymore. I really want to do self-love coaching. And so
because you were in community college for about a year and a half, you said, right?
A year and a half.
So you were, I mean, 2 years is normally about the average for that, depending on, I guess, how many classes you're taking each semester, but you were almost done. Like it seems like you're almost done. You could actually, but you're like, you're like, I'm just going to get out now?
Yeah, exactly. So a year and a half into it, and I knew, you know, I was studying psychology. I was passionate about it, but I honestly felt like, you know, I just wasn't really happy. Like something was not clicking, and I'm like, no, you know, I was so angry at myself because I was like, oh my gosh, you know, here I am trying to make it work and to get good grades so I can prove it to myself. It wasn't about proving it to my family, but I wanted to prove to myself that I was smart enough.
Okay.
You know, smart enough, and then XYZ would happen. And so I, you know, halfway through community college, I was like not really happy. And then I also had my health scare, which kind of came out of left field. And the timing was so odd because I was so unhappy in community college. And then I, you know, got this.
When you say you were unhappy, like what does that look like? Like what like, was it just like
Yeah.
anxiety? Was it like every day, like not wanting to go to like community college? Like what does it look like? 'Cause
Yeah. So for me, you know, it was like, it was just, it's so weird to explain, but I think, I don't know if you've ever had a situation in your life where like you can't explain it, like everything is going right, but deep down you're like,
something's off.
yeah, you're like, this just like your intuition is like red alert,
kind of like a gut
alarm.
feeling.
Yeah. And I felt this like little,
So you were like you were.
oh no, I was so
in
happy.
school
I was
and
happy,
everything?
healthy, lived in the best apartment ever.
Okay.
Had tons of friends. Like I was so happy.
Yeah.
But like, you know, something just felt super, super, super off.
Okay.
And it was kind of like this little thing, day by day, it got bigger and bigger and grew and grew.
Okay.
And then I had my health scare, and it felt like this weird, you know, cherry on top of the sundae where it's like, wait, oh my gosh, you know, maybe like I'm not supposed to be in college, or just something was off the whole entire time and I wasn't paying attention. And so it was, you know, it was crazy. So I had my health scare, and unfortunately I kind of had to like withdraw from community college. I was really sick in bed, and thankfully I'm healthy now, and it was nothing really serious, but that was a huge life-changing moment. And I think a lot of us have those moments, whether it's like a car accident or a health scare or the death of a loved one, that can kind of like,
Kind of wake you up to something else.
shake you up and make you think like, well, you know, I don't know, maybe there is something I can do better, or I'm not happy and I'm just like lying to my, I don't know, whatever it is, but yeah.
So then after the health scare and you getting out, like how soon was it that like you started kind of your everything else with your business and public speaking and getting into that world?
Yes. So my health scare, and it's so crazy being back here in Santa Monica, because this is where everything went down.
Yeah.
So it has good memories, but I'm also like, triggering. But you know, it's something that I can look back at, and I like, you know, I knew, I don't know, like now I'm like in such a better place, so I'm like, everything's fine. But yeah, you know, I think honestly, my health scare, when I was recovering from it, because I mean, long story short, I was basically, you know, experiencing chronic pain in my body, and then I was misdiagnosed by, you know, typical like Western medicine, like going to an ER doctor. I was misdiagnosed like thousands of, like not thousands, but every single day. Like they're like, oh, you have this, take this pill. You
and nothing worked.
Nothing worked. And I, like before I knew it, I was literally on 15 different antibiotics at once, and it was so crazy. And I was like in my apartment in LA, 18 years old, literally, you know, all of a sudden I was breaking out in hives. It was really gnarly. And I remember one day, you know, like calling my mom, and literally I broke down. I'm like, Mom, I literally want to commit suicide. I was like, this is not okay. I'm 18. You know, me by nature, I'm very like active, happy, like lover of life. And I was like, literally in bed for like 10 hours a day, no energy, gaining weight, like miserable. And I'm like, Mom, I cannot do this mentally. I'm done. And so she came down here and she got like a hotel room.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
at this hotel like down the street from my apartment. And she's like, okay, we will get through this together. She's like, I'm not letting you end your life. That's not okay. She literally was down there like 5 hours.
Okay.
She's like, no, this is not happening. And so, you know, she found this like holistic sort of Eastern medicine doctor, like acupuncture.
How did she find this person?
So she was a fan of his. His name is Anthony Williams. He's the medical medium. He's kind of like famous in that world. Like he's written New York Times.
In holistic medicine?
Yes. He's written New York Times best-selling books. He is super like has abilities basically. He's really intuitive and he can kind of like tell when people are off or have, you know, a chronic illness or something. And so she was like, I got an appointment with him. I mean, it's such a long story, but it's just, it's crazy though, because she got an appointment. She won it in a raffle giveaway, which is, I know
what?
So.
She won an appointment?
Yes.
Is it just because it's like that expensive that you're trying to like get in? Like, why couldn't you just make an appointment?
Right. So basically, he's just really, really hard to get an appointment with.
Okay.
Like he works with celebrities. So his wait list is like almost 5 years.
Okay.
So my mom was like,
5 years, really?
Yes. My mom was like, okay,
Wow.
so, you know, his radio station says he's doing this like giveaway.
Okay.
And I want to try it because she's like, I have a really good gut feeling that like he's going to heal you. And growing up, I grew up in a very spiritual family. Like my mom was all about like putting crystals in the house, like not too far, but it's like a really good childhood. Okay. So for me, you know, she was like, I have to do this for you. Like you're my daughter.
Do you have crystals in your house?
I do, yes. I have crystals in my apartment in Miami.
Oh, okay.
I love keeping the feng shui good. And so, yeah, you know, for me, she was like, I will do anything just to see you like feel better. So we went on this journey for months of trying all these different doctors. And then she finally put in her name in the raffle giveaway for the medical medium. Okay. And literally a week later, she got an email from his assistant and was like, hi, Courtney.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So we selected you and it's out of 5,000 people and your name got picked, which we're like, that is really like, what are the odds? Yeah. So, yeah, you know, we basically were super grateful. And then I remember I had like over Zoom kind of a session with him for like 10 minutes because he's so busy. And then in the 10 minutes, I remember like my mom and I were, you know, just on like literally freaking out because we were fans of him too. Yeah. And so basically he diagnosed me with like strep throat, but it was strep virus. So it sounds weird, but long story short, I had to cut out like dairy and certain
antibiotics
foods.
Fix it.
Yeah, antibiotics were actually making it worse. And so he kind of gave me just simple changes, which is so crazy.
Kind of nutritional changes.
Yeah, nutritional changes. And he's like, you know, that's the thing is about, you know, typical like Western medicine is they give you all these antibiotics, but it's like, he's like, just cut out eggs and dairy and, you know, all these simple things.
How did he kind of like figure out, like when you're on this 10-minute Zoom call, like how does he figure it out? Like is he asking certain medical like questions about like what blood type you are and like things like that? Like how does he figure out, you know, kind of, you know, what's going on? Yeah,
so it's crazy because he literally, he's a medical intuitive. And so if you read his books, and if you believe in this, he has the ability, like if I were sitting here with you, he can scan your body in like x-ray vision. Okay. He can see what like kind of things you have off in your body. Like if your liver needs to be detoxed, if you have a heart kidney issue. Okay. So take it with a grain of salt, but like that's what he believes and that he has that ability. And so it worked for me though. Like
So he just was like,
he didn't ask
Megan,
me any questions.
you have strep virus. He's like looks x-rays and then like strep virus.
Yeah. So basically he was like, you know, just staring at me and he asked me just what's your first name? And then he was like doing his thing where he kind of closes his eyes and yeah. And so he's like, basically he's like, okay, so Megan, he said spirit, like, not a ghost, but like spirit. The other side is telling me you have the strep virus in your colon, and it's like you have this, virus, and it flares up when you eat certain foods and do certain things, and all these things. And so he's like, I want you to go for 6 months, go vegan, cut out alcohol, caffeine, dairy, all these things. Take all these herbal drops that taste disgusting, but it will help. Okay. And so I did that, and it really, really worked. Within 2 days, I stopped taking the antibiotics, and I fully did all of the herbal drops.
Vegan diet? Are you vegan now?
I would say I call it flexitarian.
Okay, flexitarian.
Flexitarian.
I've never heard that before.
So I do eat red meat now, though, because that health scare was so long ago. My body's fully fine.
Yeah.
But
again, I think it's different for different people too. I know some people I don't know, you've probably heard of the carnivore diet. A lot of people have done that, and I know it with autoimmune diseases, it really helps sometimes to go for some people. But other people, vegetarian or vegan or things. So it's kind of interesting.
So, now still though at 25, it's been, like I said, 7 years, I still don't eat dairy. I don't eat pork or bacon. I rarely have alcohol. I am a coffee lover now, but I have coconut milk in it.
Caffeine is okay?
Caffeine's okay. But yeah, it's I don't really have the strep virus anymore, thankfully. But I do still drink.
But you went 6 months pretty much
6 months
solid with
cold turkey solid. Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The concoction of herbal drops, it tasted like just horrible. It tasted like the Harry Potter vomit jelly beans or something.
Oh yeah, those are
something. I had to have it twice a day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for super intense, but it literally, I don't know what I was drinking, but every time I did, the pain in my side would just disappear. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is like a magician.
Well, it's interesting. I'm skeptical on some of that stuff, but at the same time, hey, if it works for you and you're good now, hey, I'm happy for you. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I could talk about it for hours, but it was a crazy time in my life. But taught me a lot.
Okay. Well, moving on, kind of venturing to your TED speaking. I'm kind of curious to hear, or at least for the audience to kind of hear about somebody who got into that, because I know we were talking earlier, and you were telling me that you were really adamant, really die hard set on speaking. I think you said you have a goal of speaking at 15. Yes. 15 TED Talks. Yeah. Which is, but you already have 3 under your belt, right?
I'm 25, so
that's not too bad. Yeah, I think you can make it. If you're persistent as as it sounds like. Yeah. Now, when you started, you said you were literally applying every day, right?
Oh yeah, I was literally sending in 6 applications every day, even on Sundays, holidays, my birthday, for 2 years straight. I was so...
To just different events, or where were you sending these things?
So I would, go online, and literally I would find so TED has a website, and you can find local events. So there's a difference between TED Talks, which is, Elon Musk, Oprah, Steve Jobs, the cream of the crop.
It's $10,000 to get a seat over
Yes, that's when you've made it. Sure. It's Nobel Peace Prize. And then there's TEDx Talks, which are the child of that. Okay. So they're still amazing. Yeah. They're very prestigious, but they're very easily accessible for anyone.
And they're going on
all the time.
Weekend,
right now a lot of them are virtual, but they are opening back up post. Things are moving.
As things get back to normal.
But so you could just go on the website and you find TEDx events near you or wherever you want to speak.
Okay.
So let's say you want to talk at one in New York, or they're literally Egypt, Australia, they're all over. You just have to find one that fits the topic of your story. Okay. So let's say the topic of the event is climbing new peaks. And then, you can either talk about a moment in your life where, you had to metaphorically climb a new peak, going to college, or a major life change. Okay. Or you can talk about, besides a life event, you can also talk about an idea of yours, something kind of revolutionary, if you have an invention or you have an opinion about global war, climate change, yes, anything. You can do either, and so it's really
So is there certain
fun.
like requirements to this? Like, do you have to interview? Do you have to have like a degree in anything? Do you a certificate? Like,
Yeah.
Is there a certain time frame? Like, how what does it look like?
Yeah. So basically, you can apply, and typically you can find the organizers and you can email them. They have their contact information. But basically, you can, you can apply, but the speakers, typically you get about 6 months to prepare. Like
Okay.
they really want you to, and anyone can talk at them. You don't have to be like a trained public speaker.
Yeah.
They like to make it open, but I will say when you speak at one, there is a speaking coach who
Oh, really?
who like trains you
Okay.
and really, really, really wants you to like
Do well.
yes. So when I'm talking right now, I'm saying like a lot. They would be like, no,
Yeah.
like any type of like or or kinda. You get a red card. So they coach you through your entire talk. They want to see you on stage. Do you like fidget and just making sure your body language is good. So it's kind of.
Is there any kind of like, almost like pressure in the sense that can they cut you at that point? Can they be like, you know what, you said like 10 times, you're not going to make it. Sorry, go back home.
Oh my gosh, it's like American Idol.
Yeah.
Like, each round. Okay, I mean, in my experience, I've never seen that happen.
Okay. So
because in my 3 TEDx talks I've given, I've been through the whole entire 6-month process where you get trained and everything and you get prepared for it. I've never once seen that happen. So I don't. I mean, maybe.
So once you're kind of in. They're just basically trying to polish you as best as they can.
Exactly. They just want you to reach your potential.
Okay.
And
That's very cool.
it's a really cool opportunity. And honestly, I just feel grateful because in all 3 events, not only when you're sitting in the audience watching the other speakers speak, but like when you're on stage, it's just a really, it's a cool event because you get to really just sit back and, I don't know, like I feel like the art of storytelling is something that is not as popular nowadays. Like TV is amazing, everything's amazing, but there's something so great about just watching people share about their life. And like you really get to gain perspective, and it's such a cool, like it's a full day long event usually. So they have intermissions, they have like snacks and interactive like
so you kind
booths.
Get a network with a lot of other people too, which is probably pretty cool.
And at the end, all the speakers, you get a certificate.
Oh.
Saying that you did it. So I want to, my dream is to have a wall with like 15.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to be like that stage mom. That's
there you go.
like my shrine.
What would you say then to, young up and coming public speakers who want to speak at a TEDx?
Yes.
What advice would you give to them?
I would say number 1 is just like pursue it relentlessly. Like do not feel like literally just whatever resources you have, use them. You have a dream. I think it's amazing to go after alone, but I think there's a huge power when you reach out to your friends, family, post on your Facebook, say, hey, it's a goal of mine to do this. Does anyone have any connections, to like an upcoming event? Just go online and just pursue it relentlessly. If someone emails you one no, or you didn't get it, or they said, your topic is great, but your idea when you're filling out the application, just learn from it and then do better. Just keep on going. Because I remember when I was 18 and I had that goal, and I was just, I would just go up to people at events, be like, hey, do you know anyone at a TEDx event? And they're like, what? And I just didn't, I was so like,
that
hey,
was your goal.
I know what my goal is. And so I just, I knew what I wanted. And so I would say best tip ever is, just go after it and really, put yourself out there, ask for help, network, and just know that it is possible. But I will say, don't get frustrated, because I think with TEDx talks, one thing that people may not realize is, how long it can take.
How long did it take you to finally get a TEDx speaking engagement?
My first one it took 2 years.
2 years? Okay.
Yes, and I remember there were many like nights where I would cry and be like, this dream is too big, I can't do it. But thankfully, like, I've had that spirit my entire life, and maybe it's because I'm a Scorpio, or I don't know, but I set my eyes on a prize. Like, I just don't give up. And I, door A, okay, cool. I just go through the whole alphabet. I'm like, I never give up. And so, it took 2 years for me, and I don't want people to listen to that and be like, what?
Yeah.
2 years? Like, that's not for everyone. But I really, I will say, just don't give up. And if it means a lot to you, and I also would say, in the meantime, while you are applying, really think about what story you want to convey, and really use that time wisely. Like, what does it mean to me, and how can I inspire other people?
And maybe you can also be doing other public speaking in the meantime.
Exactly, practice.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I was speaking at like the freaking Santa Monica YMCA every day for free. I use my time wisely, and I was like, you know what? I am a believer in, like really working my butt off all the time, but I also do believe that from my health scare, things happen for a reason, and sometimes you just have to be flexible and adjust and kind of like, just let go of like worrying about like, oh my gosh, if it doesn't happen in a week, it's like you have to
we're in such like a very impatient society. I mean, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, we
But
are.
if you thought about it, if you're like, hey, like, that was a huge dream of yours, right? So if you thought about it and you're like, man, if you knew in 2 years you're going to do it, I mean, how much like you'd be excited for that. And so a lot of people like think 5 years even. It's like so long, but 5 years, if you knew you could reach your dream in 5 years by persistence, like you'd think it would motivate you, but so many people want it now. They want everything to happen now. They want it to be handed to them,
Exactly. And that's, something else just I've learned in this industry. It's, like, never let go of your dreams. Like, don't allow people to make you feel like, oh, it's bad, or it's cheesy, or, oh, it's too big of a dream. If that person, that says more about them. Like, hold on to your dreams, and that is precious. And my personal trainer, like, she always would tell me, she's like, Megan, like, you're the only person that knows how to get into your special zone when you're in your peak state, when you're doing your thing. She's like, never let anyone take that away from you. Like, you have the key to that space, like, no one can take that away. And so I think it's so important in life to like just never give up, and to also, be open to how your dreams can just manifest in their own way. And I don't know, I think, that's just something I've come to kind of like accept, where I can have these dreams, but then be open to like, maybe they're going to come in a form that's different, but it's better, but it's still that thing that I wanted,
Yeah, I was going to say, playing kind of devil's advocate here. What would you say to the person that, like, because I'm all for that too. I'm like, hey, definitely like pursue what's going to make you happy. Within reason, within your own responsibility. But what about, there's, the horrible singer on American Idol, for instance, that thinks their dream is to be, win American Idol, and they're not going to do it. What do you say in that situation? Their dream is to be a singer,
like the next Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what would you say to that person?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say, I mean, it's like so hard for me to like look at someone and be like, I would say honestly, never give up on yourself or your dream. I just think that's the best thing, because I would think about if someone were to tell me when I'm getting started, like, oh, you're terrible, or like you should give up, I would literally like, that's so traumatic for someone. So I would say,
but I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, even thinking through it right now with you is like, what is the balance of like reality in just like that not being your thing, and then also being like, okay, this is my dream, I want to make it happen. But, not everybody makes it.
No, that's true. I think, there is a point when you have to be realistic with yourself and, take other people's positive feedback or just not criticism, but just like, listening to other people's opinions. But I think, the best thing in life is that there's multiple paths. So let's say you do have a dream of, being like the next big American Idol star. Well, it's like that is a TV show. And so it's like, I'm sure, a part of it is maybe not scripted, but a little bit like already planned and produced, just like many shows. So, it's like using that platform, however far you get, using that platform where you could become, an author, or you could become a vocal coach, or, you could sing, like go on tour with it, like just
Sure.
using, or you could take more lessons yourself and become better. I think, there's just endless options. And so
kind of figuring out your own path in that.
yes.
Maybe it's different than what you originally thought, but you're still kind of in that realm of
Exactly.
what you want to do.
And that's something I've learned too, because, my biggest dream ever is to be on E-News. And
E-News?
yeah, in the current times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
The current times, things are different. People don't watch, typically the morning,
You want to be like a host, or what do you want to do?
Yes, biggest dream is to be like.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I already do red carpet hosting, but my biggest dream is to be like, like Juliana Rancic, or like on the E-Pop Daily. I love all of those people.
Okay.
Yes. And so, it's like I have that dream, and it's so precious to me, and I, never want to let it go ever. But I also am aware that, in today's times, things are changing so quickly, especially with TV. People love Netflix and Hulu, and people don't really watch, like the local news or things. So I have my career goals in my mind, and I'm very much so like a Kris Jenner for myself, where, I know what to do. Like if this doesn't work out, I'm like, oh, I could be a fitness instructor, like a future Tracy Anderson method. Okay, no, maybe New York Times bestselling author if I don't get on Dancing with the Stars. And I'm gonna become, like, I just see, all of.
Oh, is that a goal too, to get on Dancing with the Stars?
It is, yes.
Are you a dancer?
I have been in my entire life, yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually, I auditioned to be a dancer for the Miami Heat team like a week ago. So I'm waiting to hear a call
very
back.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm a big NBA person, so.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
hence the NBA
so cool.
sucks, but.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm a Laker diehard though, but.
But yeah, it's like I have my whole career. I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then I'm going to go here. So, to me, it's like I have like the women that I look up to, a lot of them have done similar things where, they are on E-News or like they're a NBC News.
Yeah, because if you don't get something like that, you might get something. Maybe your YouTube blows up as a news thing, and you're a pop news like influencer.
Exactly.
Or TikTok. I mean, there's so many, or whatever the next thing is.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's so many different avenues these days.
It's so true, and that's the thing. It's like I was saying. A lot of my idols, I've, Wikipedia'd them and kind of their career path, and I see this common formula, and I'm like, I see that for myself as like, the girl next door who has all the tips and the advice, and it's like, I want to write a cookbook, I want to write a fitness book of like how to, get fit and how to, do all these things, and just, I have all these ideas.
Yeah, you're doing a lot. How do you manage?
Yes.
So like, I mean, I'm kind of the same way actually. I do a lot of different things.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like, I
that's
mean,
cool.
I work in TV and film development, but then I also have my own business.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing kind of all these almost like business hobbies. I have podcast. Like I'm doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I'm not always the most organized, so I'm, having to prioritize things, and I can get a little crazy. But I'm curious always to ask other people, like, how do you prioritize kind of what your your goals are and what you're doing.
Yes. So I right now am wanting to build my fan base, and like for me, my biggest dream right now, my biggest goal is to become either a host or a reporter for a news channel, because I think, doing that for maybe like 15 years, it's like you get appearances, like you're on TV daily, and so people get to know you, you're a familiar face.
Yeah.
And then that can lead to you being on E-News or like a bigger Good Morning America, Today Show, being a correspondent. Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, and then that can lead to more things like being on ESPN or doing the Olympics and more events, bigger and bigger, and then pretty soon you could be doing Dancing with the Stars, and then once you do that, you can get like a book deal for being a New York Times bestselling author, or you get picked up by a publishing company. And so it's like I notice all these common threads with all these women and men that I look up to. And then, you're set when you're like 50 or 60 and you can retire.
Yeah, you got that.
But I think it's like building the fan base. And then once you have that, when you're all these things, it's like you have people that will come to your events.
Sure.
They'll buy your book.
Yep.
So right now, I know how to manage myself. And I'm like saving all my money. I am my own publicist, manager, everything.
Okay.
Because I'm, it's like, why would I get one when I could wait till my career is much bigger.
Do you have an agent and manager for your print photography though, or
I do. I'm signed to multiple talent agencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say that seems like I don't know how you're doing it without.
No, I know it's a lot. But I do. Yes, I'm signed to 5 different agencies.
Oh, really?
For modeling and talent.
How come 5?
Because I think it's good to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Are you allowed to be in like 5 at one time? Isn't that against like, I mean, like they want like your percentage of what you're getting, or how does that work?
Yes, so I'm what they call non-exclusive.
Okay.
So meaning I'm not tied down to one talent agency.
Okay.
I can be signed to multiple. So I think it's important to.
So if you book with somebody else, the other company, they're not getting a percentage of what you're doing, right?
No,
okay.
It's just each one. But if you are a model or an on-camera, personality, it's important to remember that, there's a difference between being exclusive versus non-exclusive.
Yeah.
So when you are exclusive, that means you can only be with them and no one else. And you want to make sure, you don't get tied down to an agency. Because I just have had friends in my own experience where I literally, just got tied down to one agency, and it just was not what they promised. And I want to be consistently working, so I got myself out of that contract, thankfully.
Do you have to if you're going non-exclusive, do you have to sacrifice bigger percentage?
I would say when I was with an agency and it was, did you say exclusive or non-exclusive?
Yeah, like, so if you're non-exclusive, do you have to basically sacrifice and give them a bigger percentage because you are able to go to other places? Like,
yeah. Yes.
That
you
makes
do.
sense.
Yes. So it's a lot, and you definitely want to make sure you're reading the contract and you do not get tied to one because, like I said, I've had horror stories where
have a lawyer look it over.
Yeah, I've had friends that get tied to one and they literally don't have any work, or they get one gig, like every few months. And so, you want to make sure, read the fine print, be a smart business person. But I think it's good to like cast your net wide, so then you're consistently working and you're not, like bored and just kind of have this awkward in between time. Like I want to be signed to as many as possible to reach my goals and be with agents that believe in me and they're not, forcing me to like, be with someone else, or I don't even know, like, because I've gone to open casting calls and auditions where people are like, oh my gosh, you like, we love your look, but like if you could drop 15 pounds or like.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
It's intense, and people are like, oh, you should change your hair or do this. And it's like, it's a lot. And so thankfully I have a therapist.
Okay.
Because it's a lot, to be on the road and like you're alone in hotel rooms and you're traveling and so many things change in one day, and you're just like, wow, like this is a lot to handle.
Yeah, you need somebody to talk to.
Definitely takes a certain type of person, but
Well, jumping back real quick, I'm curious about the Miami Heat dance team tryout.
Yes.
So you just did that, last week?
Last week, yeah.
So how do you, like, is that something, it's just like an open call and you can go in, or like, did you have somebody connect you into the system, or like, how did you get that?
So my move to Miami was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm obsessed with Miami.
Okay.
It's my favorite.
I've never been. I really want to go. I've
Oh
been to
my
Orlando.
gosh, stop.
So I've been to Florida, but I haven't been to. I didn't make that drive because it was a pretty long drive. So.
Yes. Okay. Like I love being in LA, but my heart is calling me back to Miami already. Like the weather, the energy, people are so motivated. Just the culture. It's
it's a different culture for sure.
There's some parts where it's like a little weird, and there's like for sure like the bougie, like whatever, but I just avoid that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Miami. Everyone is so friendly. It's just so cool.
It's more open there, right?
It's more open, and I don't even know. It's just I've only been there for
the vibe is.
Yes, the vibe.
The vibe
is.
I can see that. Yeah.
The vibe is undeniable. So yeah.
So then, really cool. so how did that then? You just saw like a casting call, or your agent told you? How did you go in for the dance tryout?
Yes. So I found it in kind of an interesting way. So I'm like the queen of networking, and I call myself a baby hustler.
The queen. Okay.
Yes, the certified queen.
Okay.
So I love making stuff happen. Like for me, like I said, I have a goal and I just never quit until I see it happen. And so I saw the gym that I go to, there's a girl that I work out with all the time, and she was a dancer for the Brooklyn Nets. Like she's really in that industry, and she's like, they're holding auditions, like tryouts for the Miami Heat team if you want. And she's like, I was like, really? And she's like, they're super open. There's no age requirements. Like you should go. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I did it, and it was really cool. Like I've been to other auditions where they're so strict about like requirements of like
Yeah,
age
I heard like
and
the LA, the
height
like a
and-
Laker girls, for instance. I heard that is extremely like
Yes.
brutal, like brutal.
Ye-
But I don't know, maybe it's a little bit better in.
Yeah, it is. Miami is it's a lot more open-minded,
Yeah.
but I have heard that as well. Like just the looks, and if you're not blonde, if you're
Yeah.
not, it's like so strict. But yeah, it was a great experience. And there were girls who were like, you know, like 35 and like 40, just like all these different ages, in different heights and different body types, which is always so encouraging. But
So what do they have to do? Do you have to like learn a routine like on
Yes.
the fly, and then like
Yeah.
they just, because that's probably part of it too, right? Like just they're testing to see how fast you pick up the choreography, right?
Yeah, so they're literally testing, you know, how quick you are at memorizing. So they give you this whole dance routine to memorize, to rehearse, and then you get into groups of 3 and just do
Okay.
it in front of like the judges.
Okay.
And it was so much fun. Like it was so good, and I've been a dancer, like I said, my entire life,
Okay.
and so I know what I'm doing. That's my area where I thrive. But it was so much fun. Like, just I loved it.
Very cool.
I did really good, so I'm waiting to hear a call back, and they really liked me. But yeah,
I hope you get it. That'd be
thank
exciting.
you. And I think it's important though. It's just like just do it.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
after it.
You did it.
'cause-
You did what you can. If it's up to them to say yes or no, but at least you gave yourself the
Exactly.
opportunity, and that's the
Exactly.
biggest thing.
Yes. So to me, it's like, you know, at the end of my life, like this is just how I think. Like I'm an overthinker to the
Yeah.
4,000th degree.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like, you know, when I get to the end of my life, I want to look back and be like, I never held myself back.
Yeah.
You know,
No
like
regrets.
I tried it all. I did it all. And it's like, to me, I think that's just in life, you only regret the things that you just never try.
Sure.
Like, and so, yeah, that's something that I just, you know, yeah, it's like I want to do it all and be like, you know what, I did pave my own path.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, started my career from like literally the ground up. Like I was not born into a family. I've, you know, made everything my entire self. And so, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump now. I want to hear about your book.
Yes!
So tell me about your
yeah.
book. I'm curious to hear about your book. And then
Yeah.
also, thank you for a copy, by the way. I really appreciate it. It's amazing.
course.
Can't wait to read it.
you.
But yeah, I'd like to hear about like what it's about, and then also maybe a little bit about like how you got to a point of being, you know, it's published. Is it something you can buy in a bookstore, online, like, or is it, or what is the plan for the book?
So the book is called How to Thrive in the Virtual Classroom. It is a mental health interactive workbook for guys and girls. I kind of made it for millennials going
Okay.
back to school or the office.
Okay.
Post-COVID. And I think, you know, when COVID-19 sort of hit, I think like February of 2020.
Yeah.
Like,
kinda
yeah.
we were closed down by March. So.
Yes. When it hit, I remember, you know, I was living in LA and I was about to speak at South by Southwest.
Oh, okay.
And I was
Very
like,
cool.
you know, my speaking career, I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's like, it's just
Yeah.
getting started, like all these things. And then it literally hit, and then that event closed. And my career is based off of events.
Yeah. So that
it
whole industry was just kind of
shot down.
Well, yeah, and changed to like virtual, which is gotta be
Exactly.
like,
It's
you know,
fun.
it's not the same.
Exactly. It's like fun, but it's not the same. And so I remember that happened and I was like heartbroken. And so for me, during COVID-19, I really thought to myself, you know, I should kind of like walk the walk. Like I should practice what I preach. And it's like, you know, I could let this time really ruin my mood and
Yeah.
really make me turn sour, which is not who I am. Or I could really rise above and be like, you know what? Like this time is really hard for everyone.
Yeah.
It sucks. But it's like, I'm not going to let it ruin my career.
Yeah.
Like I created my career and like, I'm going to ride this thing out no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally just created this book and it's 175 pages.
Okay.
It's like a fun diary kind of, you get to write
Okay.
in it and express your feelings.
Very cool.
And I wrote it, and then my friend went through and did all the grammatical edits, and I had another friend who's an illustrator. She created the
Oh, very
cover
cool.
and all the pictures. So, you know, it's like I made it kind of from scratch, and now that was like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Now I have all the copies, and so starting like today, this is my
Oh.
first press interview for my
okay.
book.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I feel honored.
Oh my gosh, so exciting. So the rest of the fall, I'm going on a book tour.
Amazing.
So promoting it, and then it's going to be available on Amazon, my website.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Like
Yes.
for people, like if, we're going to put like links in the description.
Yes.
Where can they go for this? I mean, you can send me the links, but is this
Yeah.
Amazon? Is this, your website? What's the best place for them to buy this?
Yes. So my website is www.megangallagher.com.
Okay.
Also, it will be available on Amazon.
Okay.
It's paperback, audio, and hardcover.
Okay. But is it better to buy it from your website?
I would say yes. Better.
You get more percentage there?
Yes. I would say,
okay.
honestly, better to go to my website. I'm also going to post about it on my Instagram. I'm very active on all social media platforms, like LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. So yeah, I will be doing tons of promotions this fall. So I'm doing some traveling. Most of it's going to be virtual.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to say it's going to be.
I know.
Still
so
difficult with
I'm
everything.
excited. But it's also so cool to once again, I love setting goals. And it's so cool. Like I wrote this and to see it
Just
now.
to see it out there is
see
gonna
it
be
now.
amazing.
Like I had this idea and I remember in the beginning I was just like, oh my God, I literally would go driving and I would have to pull over and talk to Siri and write iPhone notes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just, I have to write this book. I have to.
So what was like what kind of was the motivation? I mean, I know like COVID kind of made it, reassess, like I'm going to keep my career going.
Yeah.
But was there a certain, like, in terms of what the book's about, like, was there a certain motivation that was going through your mindset at the time on what you wanted to write about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was just really passionate because at the time I was working with teenagers one-on-one.
Okay.
And I literally saw firsthand, because I was coaching them over Zoom, I saw firsthand how COVID-19 was affecting them and their
Sure.
mental health. They would break down crying and they were like, I'm missing prom, graduation is virtual. Like they're like, the college of my dreams, it may not happen. Like they were going through all of these, huge life milestones, yet they did not have the tools of how to cope with it and how to, move on and just deal with it, like emotionally and mentally. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this idea, I had a light bulb moment. I'm like, I, need to literally create this book. And so it's really just, it's so cool that now I see it in person and it's like, just basically, a guide of how to navigate this time in the transition when now things are opening back up. If anyone's suffering from anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD, any type of kind of just worried about, life now and what's going to happen and the what if things never return to normal and, what if I never get that job or get into that school? Like I know I'm not the only one who's like, what if, if things never get better or. I mean,
that was one of the kind of interesting things, which is kind of good and bad is, when COVID hit, it's kind of like changed everything.
Exactly.
And that's kind of one of the things you kind of have to be open-minded to is like things can change in a moment, but are you still going to be who you are? Are you still going to be positive? Like that's really the key, I feel like, is making sure you're centered and grounded. Because the world's always going to change. There's going to be good and bad.
Exactly.
But, who you are you going to stay centered? And I think that's, if you have a book that kind of helps people along that journey, that's fantastic.
100%. And that's something else, I think a lot of people often just contemplate, what is the new normal? What is that looking like and feeling like? And I agree with what you said. I think, in life, we are always changing. I don't know what the new normal is going to look like, but for me, one major thing that I realized during COVID-19 was just to be flexible and to be open with whatever life has to offer me and with change. And also my career, it's just to go with the flow. Just learn to kind of, accept what there's a quote where it's like, let go of what you can't control and accept what you can, whatever. Yeah. But I really live by that. And that's something I really understood during COVID-19 was, I had such a huge, worry, sadness about my career. I'm like, oh my God, it's over.
I think a lot of people did.
I was like, oh my God, it's over, all this work that I've done. But then I literally kind of grieved and healed and went through this stage where I just, I still came out on the other side and I still, I wrote my 4th book during COVID. It's like I still am successful.
Yeah.
And I did not allow that time to
stop you
to stop
or
me.
depress you so much that you can't do it. So.
I was like, COVID-19, so like, sorry, but you're not going to like just crumble like years of work. And so that also kind of showed me, it's like, wow, you know, like I'm a tough person. Like definitely I'm not going to allow any other person or circumstance to ever stop me from like just going after it. So.
Well, that's kind of leads me to my next question, which I was going to ask you is, with all that, what would you say is like your greatest challenge right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say my greatest challenge is, I think, oh my gosh, my greatest challenge, I think it's sometimes I get overly excited. Like I get so many ideas and like, you know, goals and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to make this happen? And just so many things. And then I kind of like, not overwhelm myself, but I'm like, what's the plan of how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
But I always find a way. So I would say there's nothing really like going on in my life that's like a challenge. But I would say sometimes I definitely feel imposter syndrome. And that's something I've realized is like a real thing.
And for people who don't know what that is, what's imposter syndrome?
Well, okay. So I know there's like the Google, you know, definition. But for me, what it feels like is that like I've never arrived or that I don't belong or that, you know, I have this story of, oh, you know, I'm always the girl.
You're never not good enough.
I'm always the girl who never really made it. But I will say there was an event in Miami 3 weeks ago. I got asked to co-host the red carpet for Miami Swim Week, which is like New York Fashion Week. The Sports Illustrated magazine, like runway show. That was the best red carpet of my entire life. And I got asked to do it. And I literally, at that party, I will never forget interviewing all the models. I mean, and I was not wearing a name tag or anything, but all of them, when I was interviewing them and then after at the party, they literally like knew who I was. They were like, oh my God, you're Megan Gallager. And I'm like, I mean, it's like, imagine your biggest idol, like these Sports Illustrated models. I look up to them. They're like entrepreneur, like hustler, just gorgeous. I've been following them on Instagram for years. Like your biggest idol knows your name. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, congratulations.
Like feel like a peer.
Oh my God. I was like, and then the editor-in-chief of Sports Illustrated, MJ Day, literally was like, you're Megan. And I'm like, are we on like, I was like, are we on
a little starstruck there?
Yes. And she's like, you're Megan. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're the girl that has been DMing me every day for the past 4 years.
Oh,
I'm
really?
like,
that doesn't surprise me based on everything you told me. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, stop. Me? No. Yeah. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, and I just literally, it was just so cool. Like words can't explain it. I literally, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, like it was just weird. I had this huge epiphany. I'm like, wait, I deserve to be here. Yeah. Like really, and that was kind of when my imposter syndrome, like this, I don't belong or I don't deserve or whatever, it kind of like stopped. I was like, wait, like Camille Kostek, like Rob Gronkowski, all these people know who I am.
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, I've definitely arrived. It was so needed. And it's crazy though, because that Sports Illustrated party, I was like, it's just crazy how things really happen for a reason. And I feel like that event, it's crazy too, because 24 hours before I was supposed to co-host another red carpet, but that didn't happen. And then I got Sports Illustrated and I'm like, that happened for a reason. Because at that Sports Illustrated, I really needed to feel like, you know, internally that like, I do deserve it, or like I do deserve to be there, and I have arrived, and
Well, last question. I think you're very successful. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see where your journey goes.
Thank you.
You know, at 25, if you were to go back and say to your like 17-year-old self, what advice would you give to 17-year-old Megan?
Oh my gosh, I would say buckle up, honey. Like it's gonna be a wild ride, but I would say like your positive attitude is literally going to get you to where you go. Like there's gonna be crazy things that other people do outside of your control, but like your attitude and your positive, just like I am amazing. Like that will literally take you, like, I believe that since day one. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Megan, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Elevated Look Show. Make sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes delivered directly to you.